Hi, my name is Steven and welcome back to my channel. And today I'm going to be talking to you about things that I'm looking forward to, 2023 edition. From the list last year, I didn't do as many things as I wanted to do in 2022, but it was still a headlining year for me. I still had a pretty eventful year with a lot of life-changing decisions, even though I didn't do the milestones that I set out to do. In my previous video of things I'm looking forward to in 2022, you'll know that I had a lot of lofty goals set. And many of these goals were fairly optimistic based on the fact that we wanted to start a family last year. So moving forward, I'm going to be more realistic in my goals for 2023 and pare down my expectations. So here are some of the things that I'm looking forward to in 2023. Check out my previous video if you want to know what I wanted to do in 2022. But an overview for this year is going to be a focus on family, stability, and creating new rituals and habits. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about the background, my goals for 2023, and my general thoughts. And before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, comment, share with friends, hit that notification bell if you like this content. And let's go. If you watch my previous videos, you'll know that I've gone through a lot in the past 6 months leading up to 2023. And you'll know that 2022 has been a huge transitional year for me, as I expect 2023 will. So much so that last year had the most life transitions for me than when I moved out of my parents' house. But the difference now is that I have way more responsibility from family than I did when I was single and moving out for the first time. So the difficulty of managing my life and the life of my family has exponentially increased. I consider 2022 my full transition into complete adulthood. Prior to last year, I thought that 2022 was going to be a year in which we transition out of the pandemic and we get back to traveling, and more focused on the day-to-day normal activities prior to the pandemic. But although that did happen globally, on an individual level, I was too busy rewriting my story. I changed the job, the place that I lived, and even had a child. So looking back on 2022, I was okay with how it turned out in the end, and how it ultimately came to pass even though it was an intensely stressful period in my life. I do wish that if we had to go back and change things, I would travel more before the child came, and in general have more time with my wife and I before the child came along. So let's see what I look forward to now in 2023. So here are the things that I'm looking forward to in 2023. Number 1, introspection. So first off, I'm looking towards a transition period where I reflect a lot on what just happened to me. And in it, I'm going to go through all the changes that happened to me and will happen to me in the near future. This introspection will help me transition to the new normal that I'm going to experience. As a full-time parent, I no longer have the flexibility that I once have, and that transition will be a hard one for me. As someone who really values his freedom and independence, working towards a family life will be a difficult one. And in 2023, I'm going to be as present as I can and just experience all the things that's happening to me. And take this time to slowly adjust to my new situation and also taking the time to spend with my family. It will be a period in which I'm intensely focused on myself, my family, my freedoms, and also of the future. And really focusing on the future part. What do I want the next 10 to 15 years look like for me? In most traditional stories and movies, the ending happens with marriage or having a child and nothing more. But once you have that, what does your future life look like? That's what I'll find out. But not only that, but in terms of my career and personal life as well. So 2023 is going to be a banner year for introspection for me. Number 2, shedding of the past. It took a lot of work to get to this point in my life, and I'm actually glad that it's finally over. I can close that chapter and move on to the next phase of my life. When I was a child, the ultimate goal in my life was to have an established career and a family. And all the intermediate goals that I had up until this point was in service to that vision. And because most things in my life were in service to those goals, now that I've achieved them, I need to move on and find something new. Because the motivation that I had to get to this point is not going to be the motivation that I'm going to have in the future. I will require a new set of motivations that's unencumbered from my past self. Because my past self didn't exactly have healthy motivations and drives to get me to complete my milestones and goals. The goals that I was working towards in my early 20s had a lot of successes but also a lot of failures. But luckily for me, I was completing my goals in an upward sloping trend. Although I did learn a lot from my successes and failures during this time, I don't want to repeat it going forward into the next phase of my life. There were still things during this time that I was experimenting with, and I didn't know if it will help me complete my goals or not. Now I need to take a good hard look at my future and see what I really want out of it, and then create new goals. Because my past self won't necessarily help me in attaining those future goals. So it's time for me to shed my past self and construct a new self. Number 3, focus on family. Things that I used to do with just my wife now has to be expanded for my son as well. Trips that we used to go on spontaneously now requires planning and foresight. So that means I have to step back and be more thoughtful about my family considerations. Having a kid brings new demands and opportunities for us to grow together as a family. I've never been much of a family man before, but I suspect I'll grow into that role eventually. And 2023 will give me the opportunity to slowly transition into that role. Because to go from a rugged individual to an integrated part of a family takes time and work to get there. And the demands on me during this time will not be fun or pleasant. But I know I have the passion and will to do so. And I have a robust friend network in which many of them have kids as well. So 2023 will be a year where I focus more on family than I ever have before. Number 4, creating new habits. The big task for me in 2023 is going to be developing new habits and routines for myself. In the latter half of last year, I've seen a tremendous amount of turmoil in my daily habits. And every 2 to 3 weeks, something big in my life was changing, so I had to adapt to it as well. That means in 2023, I'm going to finally be able to start adapting to the new habits and routines. Things I want to get back to is physical fitness, hanging out with friends, and self-care routines. With a child now, my time demands are going to be extremely limited, so I have to figure out how to work that into my schedule. And it will test my abilities to keep my old routines in my life. Because at some point, something's got to give, and I might not be able to keep all the things that I had before the child came along. And I also have to be willing to cut my old habits and routines in service to our child. So 2023 for me is going to be a year of change of my old routines and habits to fit my new lifestyle, and help me create that new normal for the next phase of my life. And number 5, a new normal. I think that in 2023, it will be a year in which we finally go back to almost pre-pandemic normals. And for the most part, the pandemic's going to be in the background, so we can actually get back to the routines of our old lifestyle. In effect, that means we'll get back to the events, parties, and rituals before the pandemic started. And as the latter half of 2022 has shown, there's going to be an increase in parties and celebrations. I'm looking forward the most to getting back to doing normal things with my friends and family. But we do have to balance out the risk of exposing our newborn kid to people that we don't know, and how much we take them out to explore the new world. But now, more than ever in the past 3 years, I have hope and optimism for the future. And we can finally put the lockdowns and isolations in the past, at least for the short term. So that means potentially traveling more and get back into the rhythm of seeing friends on a regular basis. So I definitely look forward to 2023's new normal. So here are some of my general thoughts about 2023. As I look into the past couple of years where I looked forward to something, I was overly optimistic in each one of those times. In each one of those cases, I overestimated what I was going to do and what I was capable of doing. This means that I didn't build enough time for life to happen. And that in reality, we all have finite energy, and sometimes we just can't dedicate it to traveling and we just need to rest. Because all the things I listed previously was active things, but I wasn't actively helping my self-care and resting mechanisms. So that means as I put more goals on the list, I wasn't actively doing them because I was getting burned out. And also in the other cases, uncertainty reigned supreme. We never knew when the pandemic was going to eventually end. And I was thrown off more than once when I wanted to travel and I couldn't. But in 2023, I'm focusing more inwards than I ever have before. These goals are more aligned with something that I can actually control and influence. And in that way, I can actually complete my goals that I have for 2023. But also, I'm looking forward to whatever 2023 brings, because if it's any indication of the past 6 months, uncertainty will dominate everything. And change is always a constant no matter where you are. So those are the things that I'm looking forward to enjoying in 2023. Big life changes in 2022 threw a wrench in all my plans for that year. But not all the changes were bad, and there were a lot of delights as well. This year will be a big transition year for me, going from my past self to my future self. From someone that's really independent to someone that's interdependent with a family. And as the pandemic recedes and things get back to normal, I'm very much looking forward to that new normal. So I hope for you, 2023 will be a big positive change in your life as well. So thank you for watching. Please leave me a comment down below on what are you most looking forward to in 2023 and why. And I'll see you next time.